Hello all. It's about time I did my Stitch Mania report, so that's what you're going to see today. I've got this, I'm trying to take advantage of natural light, but it means I've got a bit of a shadow falling here. So if you're wondering why there's a dark streak, it's not your eyes, it's just the way my camera's set up. So what I did for Stitch Mania is I chose 14 projects to start. They were all either things that I'd wanted to start for a while, or they were designers that I wanted to try out and hadn't ever tried before. The 15th project was going to be my frosted pumpkin style, but I never got around to it. I was having too much fun with these ones. So the idea was, I was all set up and prepped and ready to go at the beginning of May, actually a couple days before. And I just started them when I wanted to. So some days I started 3 or 4 or 5, and then some days I stitched on one project for a few days in a row. I went through everything at least twice, and on a few I'm on my 3rd round. So there's some substantial progress on some of them. That's a relative term, of course. So without further ado, here's my Stitch Mania progress. The first thing I stitched or started working on was this Alessandra Adelaide Christmas Ball 2010. This was gifted to me by someone through Facebook, and I kind of explained how that worked in my Stitch Mania setup video. I should mention, by the way, this is June 8th, 2017. So my Alessandra Adelaide, I decided to use 2 weeks Dye Works colors on a bit of linen I still had left over. And here's what we've got so far. If you've got any questions about details that I'm not, that I, inadvertently miss or anything, please just ask in the comments. I'll happily look it up and let you know. When I bought the floss for this, I can't remember if she didn't have more skeins of the green. I bought too much red. I can't remember if she didn't have more skeins of the green, or if I didn't think I would need more. I'm positive I will need at least 1 more skein of green. So the green that you see here is pretty much 1 skein gone, maybe a little bit more. I'm really enjoying the design though, and the way it flows makes it easy to stitch. This is a week's Dye Works green, but as you can see, it's not incredibly variegated. The red definitely is, but the green not so much. So what I'll do is I'll kind of pick a path and come down and decide, okay, I'll do this frond here, and then I'll go back and fill in that leaf, and then maybe I do this frond and then fill in this, or this leaf and then fill in that, and so on, and work my way down that way. So that's my first Alessandra Adelaide, and I'm actually really having fun with it. Some designs lend themselves to feelings of accomplishment, and that would definitely be one of them. Of course, I didn't give any thought to where I would put things down when I was finished with them. There we go. The next thing I wanted to do, I'm pretty sure I've done dimensions kits before, but I'd seen this one on a few different floss tubes, I think, and I wanted to try it. It says be a light to the world, and that fits in with our theme at work. So I'd like to stitch this and put it up in my classroom. And of course, because it's a dimensions, you've got half stitches and full crosses. The shiny bits are the silky sliver that I used to grid. I was so excited about Stitch Mania that I wanted to prep all the things, and I gridded all kinds of things that I wouldn't normally grid, and I'm actually really enjoying working on these gridded fabrics. So because of the way this camera is set up and the stand that I have, I'm just going to try and bring it closer instead of zooming in. We'll see if that works. It'll tend to shake if I touch the camera. There we go. So these are full crosses. I ran out of thread there. These are full crosses with 3 strands. And it's a nice big needle, which helps, but those were hard to do neatly, I have to confess. These are These blues here are with 2 strands, and that goes a lot better. But I'm really enjoying seeing how this comes together. And got the 2 mason jars. There'll be a 3rd one in the middle. And I really like how the negative space on this one works. You can see the leaf shape starting to pop out and a branch coming through here. So that would be the dimensions be a light. This one has had 2+ rounds of work. So I'm looking forward to having a relatively quick finish on that. Unlike what I'm going to show you next. So this is from the 3rd one here. A Leisure Arts publication, Merry Christmas ABC. And what they did was for each letter of the alphabet, there's some type of Christmas related project. So A is for angels, for example. R, as it turns out, is for reindeer. And my plan, because I'm nice and modest and humble that way, is to stitch enough for, you know, Dasher and Dancer and Donner and Blitzen, Comet and Cupid. No, you know, Dasher and Dancer and I can't even remember them now. Anyways, one of each plus a Rudolph. I'll just pick one of these guys and give him a red nose, and that'll be Rudolph plus the sleigh. And I've got this massive piece of fabric here. And what I did was I measured everything and I portioned it off, and then I gridded the first deer. So this would be his neck coming up and the halter bit there, and there'll be a leg coming down here. There's a fair bit of shading, so it takes a while. This one's had 2, now I'm into the, everything from now on has had 2 rounds of being touched. But I'm enjoying it. And my plan with this project is to go slow and not pressure myself to get, you know, 1 a month or something crazy like that done. I work on it until I'm good to go. And then I think the first time I might have focused on just getting this halter done. There is Krennic in the gold there. There you go. There is Krennic in the gold. I kind of considered ripping it out and putting in Petite Treasure Braid, which I've now tried for the first time. But I think I'll just leave it. There's not a huge amount of it in the pattern as a whole, so yeah, I'll leave it be. All right, so that was my reindeer. Next, we've got a completely different design. So I have stitched Clouds Factory before. In fact, I think my first Clouds Factory might have been Last Stitch Mania. And I bought this chart at the time. Sorry about the wiggling. Trying to get it to focus. I bought this chart at the time, but I hadn't begun it till now, and I really wanted a sort of parchment look fabric to go behind it. And whoa, there you go. Easy now. That's what I've got so far. So every time I stitched on this, I did one character. And there they are. So we've got Robin Hood and Little John. The fabric is a much warmer, buttery yellow than my camera picks up. My camera really doesn't like greens and yellows very much at all. So it's fun. It's a fun one, especially when you've been working on something big and you just want something a little more reasonable. Feel like you're making some progress. I've wanted to stitch a stocking for a long time. Just for the fun of it. I don't even know specifically who this one will be for. So I bought 2 of these Donna Cooler's Ultimate Stocking Collection books. And this particular one, pardon the ABC alphabet, there we go. I thought I'd like to do this one. It has this kind of a vintage look to it. And I started right in the toe there. So what I've got so far, my apologies. There we go. What I've got so far is this. So that would be, shadow it so you can see. There we go. This bird here in the toe. So, okay, I don't actually want to show chart, so I'll take the book away and lay this here, and I'll just say one big apology for when it shakes when I zoom in, but I think it's worth it because I don't know about you, but when I watch people's floss tubes, I really like to see close-ups of the stitches. It's just kind of fun to see all those little X's. So I think my goal with this one, the second time around, was just to fill in, to complete all the bottom row. So these 4, which I did. There'll be some more greenery here, and the bird isn't quite finished. There's a bunch of backstitch, but I don't want to do any backstitch until whatever I'm backstitching is completely surrounded by stitches. So that'll take some time. I remember I did a fair bit of frogging on this one, which might be why there wasn't so much progress. But again, it's for fun. So it'll take as long as it takes, or not as long as it takes. It's all good. Another designer I wanted to try was Soda Stitch. The only thing I don't like about this is that, as far as I can tell, you cannot obtain their patterns through download. You have to order them. So it takes a while to come. But the pattern is really cute. And I'm really enjoying how it's working out. So I have this awesome fabric from Rolanda Snyder. She's a Canadian hand dyer. It's a fairly bright green. And that's what I've got done so far. I think the first time around I did the cookie bit, and the second time I did the grandma and her bed. There they are. And I'm backstitching as I complete a motif. I think I mentioned before, I'm really not a fan of yellow, but it works in here, so I didn't change it out. I can't get over how Soda Stitch manages to imply so much. So she's sitting on a rocking chair and she's stitching on a quilt, and her little hands are folded, and she's got these really cute granny glasses on, and she's got a little cap on her gray hair with white ruffles, and it's all so detailed in a space of 60, a block of 20 by 30. I just think that's a really neat, I don't know how they achieve it, but they do. So that's my Soda Stitch start. I would definitely like to stitch more from them in the future, but one for now is enough, I think. Right. You're getting a few views of my table lately. All right, next thing to show you is this Christmas sampler. It's on the front of Cross Stitcher October 2016. I think it's called Home for Christmas. This is another Rolanda Snyder fabric. It's a dappled white. Oh, whoops. This is not the right pattern. Oh, I know what the problem is. Okay, put this on pause. I can't show you the picture for this one. It's What a Wonderful World by Emma Congdon, because I printed it offline and I didn't get a cover sheet. So there it is. I love the bright colors of this one. It's a very different design from what I often stitch, and I like how things are symmetrical. There will be a bird balancing on this side, but I have to say, and I haven't contacted her about this yet, this fabric is not square. It's not an even weave. However, I haven't had problems with my other hand dyeds from her. So, and I think with this particular chart, it's not really going to matter. It's not like the chart itself is supposed to turn out a perfect circle or square. But I've learned my lesson. I need to pay attention when I notice that my gridding doesn't look square. I don't think it could be a dyeing problem. I think it must be the original fabric problem, because I don't see how that could have happened in the dyeing process. That one set of fibers would shrink more than the other. So I'm pretty sure it must be an original fabric issue. But I really love how these colors look against the dappled blue. It's bright and sunny and fun. Okay, now we can get to Home for Christmas. But first, actually, in the same magazine, there's this fun Do Not Disturb Stitcher at Work sign. And I've started it on, right now it says Do Disturb. I've started it on perforated paper, and I am just choosing colors as I go from my DMC stash. So we'll see how that turns out. Just a little bit at a time. Okay, now Home for Christmas. So this I'm stitching on a linen that I got from my LNS. It's kind of a bluey, smoky gray, maybe. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it. I did a couple changes. If you look at the house, it doesn't have these dark brick bits at the side, but this fabric almost exactly matches that interior color. So I edged it with this darker blue, and that darker blue is also I'm gonna put that in the border somewhere. So my goal with this one, if you look here, there's still a mailbox basically, and then that's kind of it for this top section. So my goal was just to get the house done with that. So again, bit by bit, I'm not putting any pressure on myself to finish it by a certain time or anything like that. But I have to say I really enjoyed all of these choices so far. Next one is from the January 2017 issue of Cross Stitcher, and it's this Sleigh Bells ring chart. And I do believe, let me just check off camera because it would be where the chart is. Yeah, it's an Emma Congdon. So there's that. Because it's clearly nighttime with all the stars, I wanted to pick a fabric that would be a bit darker. So I've got this massively sparkly, picture this plus, it's a Crystal Mirage Lugana, 28 count. And that's what I've got so far. So that would be this house here. And I have to say, I love how those colors are popping against this particular fabric. Now, as you can see in the picture, they use a gold colored metallic for the star. Oops, I'm pointing off camera, I'm sorry. A gold colored metallic for the stars and also some of the building details. And I'm kind of arguing with myself what I want to do with that. It might end up being a silver or a white metallic that happens there. But that's what I've got so far. I love the old world look. It's kind of like the houses along the canals in Amsterdam or something like that. I'm not sure exactly where she took her inspiration from, but that's what it's reminding me of. And probably could have trimmed the fabric a bit, but I'll do that maybe when it's done. It's good for now. All right. Next piece was definitely another designer I wanted to try out, and that was Satsuma Street. Satsuma Street. Not sure where the accent should go on that one. And this design has 6 Christmas baubles. And she's got them stitched on a burlap here, but I chose to do it on a perforated paper. And the chart itself comes with 2 color options. One that's this one, and then one that's has more colors, more yeah, like a different colorway. I kind of took this one, and I can't say I completely recharted it. I did keep some of the colors the same or shifted them, but then I popped in some colors of my own too. So here's what I've got so far. Those two ornaments. I'm using a Rainbow Gallery Petite Treasure braid for the hanger and the sparkly bits. You can see that there. This is a darker teal, this background color here. I should point from this side. This background color is a darker teal, and then here we've got a much lighter teal, almost going into a baby blue, depending what you put it with. And I kind of went nuts with the treasure braid. It's so much fun to work with. Oh my goodness, I really like it. And so I outlined a lot more than the pattern actually calls for. So if you like this pattern but you don't like backstitching, don't worry, there's not nearly this amount of backstitching in the actual chart. But I wanted it to look like those metallic 50s ornaments. I don't even know if that's the right decade, but so I added a lot of silver. And for the hanger, what I did was, so that's a row of 2 cross stitches with the Petite Treasure braid. Try and focus it. One more try. There we go. That's 2 rows of cross stitches, and then I backstitched around, and I backstitched the horizontal line in between, and that filled it out nicely, I thought. So that's my Satsuma Street Christmas baubles. All right, next one, I do not have a chart to show you. This is a brodeuse parisienne chart, les cerises, or couronne de cerises, a cherry wreath. I'm stitching it on this fairly fine, I think it might be an Aida. No, it's an even weave, a white even weave. So I'm using a smaller needle because it really is I think I'm using a smaller needle. I should be using a smaller needle. So here's the thing. The chart's easy to read. I love the colors. There are so many colors in here. Like there's a really dark burgundy, and there's this yellow and peach, and it just really does look like cherries. That's all I can say about it. It really does look like cherries. But it came, there are two shades of green to indicate backstitching. And the legend only has one shade of green and a color next to it. I emailed them and asked them about it, and they were pretty quick with a reply. It was clear that whoever was answering, their English isn't super great, but it's definitely good enough to communicate well. And to be fair, my French isn't great either. So, but the problem was, what they told me was, oh, the color that's missing, that's $3.19. Well, that's the color they've already got listed. So I'm not sure whether the chart should only have one color of green backstitch, or whether I didn't express myself clearly enough. So I think I'm just gonna wing it and decide what I want to do kind of on my own. So the way they responded, I'm happy with that. They were very quick to respond. And for people to put themselves out there when, you know, they're not necessarily super comfortable with English, but they give it a shot anyways, I am a fan of that. I teach language, so I can't fault them for that. I'm always happy to see someone try. But the chart was really expensive. Downloading was not an option. So I think for the cost, it should really have been correct. But having said that, I'm enjoying stitching it. This is maybe a little less than a quarter, so because it is a wreath. So that's Couronne de Cerise. Christmas Mood is next. So this is the first chart I have bought from this designer. She gifted me the first one I've done. Didn't print it in color. So this is a cross stitch pattern by Irene Weber. She has an Etsy store. So if you search her name or cross stitch for Bina. So I grabbed, now this is Aida this time. I grabbed a bit of Aida, and it's a fairly small count. So if I zoom in here for you, there we go. Don't know why it's coming up so dark, but there we go, it's a bit better. So I was having a really hard time. My hands were hurting trying to stitch this. You can see from the scale there, my finger, it's a pretty tiny count. And yeah, it was hurting to stitch on. And I've been stitching this, I think, mostly in hand, just because it's so tiny. But I wasn't sure. I kept thinking I'm going to have to abandon it, but of course you got the sunk cost thing going on where you're thinking, I've put so much effort into it already. And then I had a brainwave, and I went and I grabbed a thinner needle, and that has helped tremendously. The only other thing is it has these, the white bits, especially in the snowflakes. Well, they won't show up against this, so I'm not sure if I'm just going to grab like a really light blue. I'll have to experiment and see what works, but bit by bit. It's so tiny and cute though. And finally, la pièce de résistance. I wanted to do some type of Mirabilia / Nora Corbett, but even though I'm always really impressed by people's mermaids, I didn't really see one that I wanted to necessarily create or recreate. So, but then I saw the Petite Pixies, and I really like this one. For one thing, she's not all purple and pink, which is kind of funny because when I showed it to my niece, she goes, well, Tante Dawn, it's nice, but I would like it more if it had more pink and purple. Lots more pink and purple. So I guess I'll need to find a different one to give to her. But I've been having a ton of fun with this. And it was actually really hard to stop stitching her. So this is what I've got so far. I have to say, I really enjoy leaving the blanks for the beads. It's just fun to see. You can kind of imagine where they're going to go, right? I believe it's gold beads that go in those little cross formations there on her dress. I don't know if you could see on the chart. So she's kind of a subdued, she's an ivy fairy. I can't wait to get to the wings. That's where the krennic is. And I think it'll be fun to see that coming out. I considered doing skin 1/1, and then I thought, you know, this is my first time doing a Nora Corbett, and it'll look fine this way too, so I'll just leave it and get to it. Maybe try that on a different project, but yeah, so that was my Stitch Mania. You can see the back. Okay, quick soapbox. I understand that some people have been traumatized, I'm using that word a little bit lightly, by insistence that your back look as beautiful as your front. And I think that's just silly, because I happen to be fairly proud of this back, but there's no way that looks like my front. And I'll just explain the word proud, because I've kind of said things like this before and been shot down for it. I'm not proud of it as in my back's better than your back. I'm proud of it as in I can see that I worked carefully, and I can be confident that whatever's on my back wouldn't negatively affect the front. There's no massive lumps that would cause a problem there. So that's what I mean by it when I say I'm proud of it. And I really personally enjoy it when people show their backs, just because I don't think it should be this big taboo, oh, it has to be perfect thing. And also because you can you can learn a lot about stitching from a person's back. So, or you can learn about how they stitch. So in this case, I used to stitch by hand, and then I didn't travel much at all because I was worried about buckling the fabric. Now this design, Nora Corbett, apparently, or from what I can tell from this design, her colors, there's not a whole lot of confetti, at least not in this. So there wasn't a need to travel, but I'm finding now that I use Q-snaps, I'm much more confident in traveling, you know, an inch or more across fabric because the fabric's held taut. I don't have to rely on my hands to maintain that tension. So okay, off the soapbox. All right, so I'll leave that there so you don't have to stare at the table while I finish up. I just wanted to say, with all the stitching that I did in May, I've been also watching a lot of Flosstube, and I wanted to say thank you to everybody who shares their projects and their stitching inspiration. I really enjoy watching. I managed to work my watch list down to nothing, but now I'm back up to 50, so it doesn't take much, especially with all the Maynia updates that people have been posting. It's been a lot of fun to watch. I wanted to say thank you for watching my video and for sticking with me, and for everybody's kind comments and likes. I really do appreciate them, and I'm glad you enjoyed what I'm sharing. If you have any questions at all about anything that I've talked about, just shoot me a note. I'll be happy to answer. I try to respond to absolutely every comment. So if you have something you'd like to say, please do share it. I enjoy the back and forth that we end up having through Flosstube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing if that's what you want to do. And I hope you have a wonderful it's always hard to close off because you never know when people are going to watch this. So saying I hope you have a wonderful Thursday doesn't quite work. But enjoy your stitchy times, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.